It is good to be back. I was in a God-forsaken land, California. And man, it is so good to be back. Wow. Any rate, I got new equipment. I still haven't quite got the settings right yet. Still not getting that filtering down correctly, but it's getting okay. It's getting close. It's going to have to do. Came across this video while I was out in the God-forsaken land and was rather amused. What we have are a number of people talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, and they're trying to get into the actual legalities of it. You can tell none of them are lawyers. None of them have really read the statutes with any real concerted effort, and the results are pretty hysterical. Now, I'm going to go ahead and skip the first, I don't know, about 11 minutes or so of the thing, because they're talking about a militia, what is a militia and all that. None of them have any idea about what they're talking about. And so you'd like to latch on to one side and say, well, they've got it, and the others don't. But no, one side will say something dumb, and the other one will counter with something even dumber. But let's go ahead and start this up and have a lot of fun. Hello out there. I'm trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnnie Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnnie Walker Dread Show.
It's a big, bold lesson. Like, literally, bro, if we all agree that he should stay in the house, then that means he self-inserted himself in a situation that he was not supposed to. So with that given fact is, we see him on camera running towards the put out a dumpster fire, which can incite the riot even more. So it's like, you know what? How can you defend something like that?
So putting out a dumpster fire is supposed to incite a riot even more?
Yeah.
Is that where we're getting at now? Why would that incite a riot even more?
Okay. The argument is, well, putting out that dumpster fire incited people to attack him. Okay. Well, there's only a small problem with that argument. You go read the Wisconsin statutes. Provocation has to be a criminal act. And by provocation, I mean a provocation of an event where you have to defend yourself with lethal force, which is what Kyle did. It's really clear. It has to be a criminal act. Putting out a dumpster fire is not a criminal act. Besides, what the hell kind of argument is this anyway? Don't do the right thing, because if you do the right thing, it might anger the bad people, and they might attack you, in which case you can't use your self-defense. Because, who buys that argument? Well, obviously somebody there does. But what a dumb argument to make. Basically, acquiesce to all of the people doing bad things around you, because if you do something to try to stop them, you're provoking violence. That is the argument he is using. It's insane. It's absurd. What can you say?
Because in Wisconsin law, before you had to deadly force or anything else, he was supposed to retreat. He did not use all the available tools for him before using deadly force. We can agree to that, right? You just said he should have kept his wife in the house.
He did retreat on the first shooting.
That's not the point I'm trying to make here. That's not the point I'm trying to make.
Putting out a fire has nothing to do with retreating.
But do we agree? He ran towards where the fire was, right? He ran towards.
So what?
Duty to retreat doesn't mean retreating from a fire. Duty to retreat is a duty to retreat from a lethal threat. And his argument is that he ran towards a dumpster fire, so he didn't use his duty to retreat. Oh my.
So what if anybody can run to a fire? So what if he ran to a fire to put it out?
Okay, that means it's about this like this. He was looking for a problem.
So that's looking for a problem. Oh,
yes, it was. It's like me. Okay, all right. I'm gonna give you a good example, right? It's like there's 5 guys that got all fish, but I got a pocket knife, right? They start punching on me, right? And I pull out my knife and I start stabbing them. I'd be wrong because I didn't defend myself. I just went straight for it, pulling out a knife.
That is defending yourself, though.
Not defending yourself. You didn't need to escalate that. I didn't.
You didn't need to escalate it. You got 5 guys punching on you, and you pull out a knife to defend yourself. Well, that's just escalating it. So the better way to do it is just to let them punch on you. That's his argument. That you don't want to escalate an argument, so just let them continue punching on you. These are the depths at which people will go to convict Kyle Rittenhouse. They will go to any depths, and they will even come up with these ridiculous arguments that you get surrounded by 5 guys and they're beating the crap out of you. You could fear serious bodily injury. Don't defend yourself. That would escalate the violence. No, just let yourself get all beaten. That's much preferable. And he has Wisconsin law all fouled up anyway.
To defend myself, I didn't use my hands first.
Did anybody throw a punch at you? Did any of those individuals throw a punch at you?
Yeah, but does those
Then it's defending yourself. If one of them threw a punch at you, it's defending yourself.
Okay, so the rule is very, very simple. You have to fear serious bodily injury. If a person of your size is throwing punches at you, you may or may not be able to use a knife or a gun to defend yourself. It all depends. Did you have a reason to believe that you feared for your safety? And was the force that you used reasonable in comparison to the threat that you faced? If you are facing 5 people, then your chances of being able to claim self-defense are much, much higher.
We clearly see that he's running towards what's in sight of riot, though. Like, clearly.
So your whole concept on inciting a riot is running to go put a fire out.
Yeah,
is that the
that's
concept? Well, then I get firemen are fucking throwing riots all the time because they're running to put fires out too.
Did you see what happened? So, at that time, there was riots everywhere.
Yeah, that's a good point. If it is true that running to put a fire out is inciting a riot, then firemen can't do it either. Provocation is provocation. Firemen do not have LEO authority. Therefore, if I go to put out a fire and that's considered provocation, then a fireman putting out a fire is also provoking violence. But do you see how ridiculous the argument is on the face of it? No reasonable person can actually buy into this argument. There are so many counterexamples to this. He's basically claiming that if your store is getting busted into, don't do anything that will anger the crowd, like try to lock the doors. He locked the doors. It really pissed us off that he was doing that. So we went ahead and looted his store and we beat him up. Well, that's provocation, you see. So you locking up your store and trying to defend your property provoke the people. You lose your right to self-defense? Are you crazy? No one is going to buy that.
Because of George Floyd. After one guy came, it incited a whole lot of riots, right? That's
Yeah,
why
but I didn't see anybody inciting riots or freaking putting fires out.
Okay. I'm gonna break it down for you. He was with a bicycle running to the dumpster fire, right?
Okay, I don't know of any dumpster fire that he was running to. It looked like there might have been a small garbage can fire down the street. It's not really clear. I think he has Kyle mixed up with somebody else. But whatever the case, let's suppose that Kyle was running towards a dumpster fire with his extinguisher.
The crowd people get around, right? That means he's looking for a problem, right?
If his purpose in putting out the dumpster fire was to provoke people into attacking him, maybe. But you know, sometimes people put out dumpster fires because they don't want the fire. You have to show evidence that Kyle put out that fire specifically to antagonize people to attack him. Good luck. He's not going on the stand, so you can't ask him, do you have any text messages where he may have made the statement where I'm going to put out a fire, and when I put out the fire, that'll provoke somebody, and then I can shoot them. Yeah, that could be an issue. But somebody doing something good that angers somebody that wants to do bad is not provocation.
He didn't actually put out the fire because you don't look out in the video that he put out the fire. It amped it up because he was there with the firearm and the guy started, he's on drugs. They did a whole documentary about it. The guy was on drugs. He just got out of a mental institution, right? So he had his medicine on. So he was probably egged on and all types of shit.
Well, the fact that the guy was out of a mental institution, didn't have his drugs or whatever, is not Kyle's fault. That doesn't excuse somebody. You can't say, well, you provoked the guy, and normally under normal conditions, that would not have bothered anyone, but this guy was on drugs, and therefore it did. Therefore, your provocation removes your right to self-defense. I don't know of any state that has such a law. I know there is no state that has such a law because it's beyond inane.
By him being in that situation, knowing that situation can escalate, it took it to where it didn't need to be. And so, me and you agreed that he should have never been in that situation in the first place. Yeah, he did agree.
We've all agreed that from the very beginning. We've all agreed that from the very beginning. He shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, we all agreed that.
Anymore.
Should not have been there is not in Wisconsin statutes anywhere. And in fact, I don't know of any state that has such a stipulation that if we don't think that you belonged in a certain location, therefore you can be attacked. No. No. Now, I know some of you might say, well, what about trespassing? Okay, let's talk about trespassing. You can use force to remove the person. You can't just attack them. Not belonging there is not adequate grounds to claim that somebody is provoking violence. This is the old, well, she shouldn't have been wearing that fancy dress in that bar. She should have known that those guys in that bar were horny. Therefore, she shouldn't have been there. She was asking for it. Therefore, no rape. Really? There was a time in this country where that might have worked. But we got rid of that kind of crap a long time ago.
That's a new argument right there. That's done and mute. Everybody agrees he shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, okay, then so that takes away your self-defense, right?
No.
No, it doesn't, because your self-defense goes with you wherever you
if
go.
he wasn't in that situation in the first beginning, you would never shot no one, right?
Self-defense goes with you wherever you fucking go. Just because we all agree that he shouldn't have been there.
That is not true.
Yes, it is true. Yes, it is true.
No, it's not.
It is true. You don't lose your right to self-defense just because you went to a certain location.
Not true. If you self-insert yourself, yourself in a situation knowing that you should escalate, you're now the aggressor, whether you provoke them or not. You knew
putting out a fire or going to put out a fire is not aggressive.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, putting out a fire is not adequate provocation. And of course, the whole problem with provocation is Kyle fled the scene. Somebody didn't read the Wisconsin statutes very carefully. It's very clear that even if you provoke violence, you can regain your self-defense rights if you flee the scene and give adequate notice to your attacker that you are fleeing the scene. Kyle ran. It was obvious to JoJo Rosenbaum that Kyle was running, so there's no notice required. He gave notice by being visibly running from Joseph Rosenbaum. He even yelled out, friendly, friendly, to boot. So even if Kyle Rittenhouse provoked the argument, it doesn't matter. By fleeing the scene, Kyle reasserts his self-defense rights.
Because if it would have been, if it wasn't to incite, then he'd be charged for inciting a riot.
Okay, the question is this, right? Did he call the police when they started the dumpster fire?
Doesn't matter.
I don't know who called. Did anybody call?
When he shot somebody, they called the police on him.
Oh, when he shot somebody, yeah. But the person was going after him.
They called the police.
But the person was going after him also. So.
Yeah, but he was still unarmed though. He didn't analyze the situation all the way enough. He was unarmed.
Okay, so being unarmed, I'm going to do another video, a dumb argument video, that you can't shoot an unarmed person. It's false. That has no basis in any state and anywhere in the country. And there's a couple of problems with that argument. Number one, what matters is, did Kyle know he was unarmed? Well, let's see here. He's been walking around with a chain all night long. He's a lunatic. He hides his face by covering it. What would tell Kyle Rittenhouse this dude couldn't be armed? He is unlikely to be armed. Hell, I would have thought he'd had something. And the other problem is that by grabbing Kyle's rifle, he's trying to arm himself. So even if he was unarmed at the time, soon as he tries to grab Kyle's rifle, He is trying to arm himself. And if he gets a hold of Kyle's rifle, even if he doesn't take it from Kyle, but if he has his hands on the rifle, he's armed.
Doesn't matter if you're unarmed or not. Doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Because you got to establish, is he a threat or is he not a threat? You got to establish what is all the list of the things you can do. Because you remember,
when a person is going at, okay, let me break it down. Okay, let me put it like this. Let me put it, hold on.
And West Country law specifically states if he's carrying a illegal firearm, he has to take every single step before taking deadly force.
This is a common myth, and I've addressed it a number of times on my video. A lot of people think that you have to exhaust all of your alternatives. In fact, I have a dumb argument on this one. Okay, that is not true. The only thing that you have to do is you have to think that you have exhausted all alternatives. The jury has to ask themselves a simple question. Did Kyle Rittenhouse have a reason to believe that he had exhausted all alternatives? Kyle's not going to take the stand. And remember, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. So the burden of proof demands that Kyle not only had another alternative, but he also considered it and did not do it. Good luck with that one. Kyle ran from Joseph Rosenbaum. That's an alternative that he had. He took it. But Joseph Rosenbaum chased him down. So there is no argument there.
He retreated.
He retreated. Okay. I didn't say what he did was good.
Okay, so
but he did retreat. He did retreat. The guy kept going after him.
Around the car, where he's actually getting away from? Nothing.
The guy was still on top of him, running after him.
What's not on top of him? Bro, he was unarmed. He had his shirt on his face.
He had his shirt on his face. Oh, that makes him unarmed.
Okay, let me put it like this. Let me put this down. Let me put this down. Okay.
I'm using law.
Somebody coming after me. Hold on, man. You're interrupting. You're interrupting. Okay. If you're coming after me and I have my firearm on me, my mind is you're coming after my firearm. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Okay, I can defeat that argument. How you know he's coming out after your firearm if he's unarmed?
Well, if he's armed, he wouldn't be coming after your firearm. He already has one. Do you see the depths that people will go to try to convict Kyle Rittenhouse?
Because you don't have to be armed or unarmed. You coming after me, period.
You're pretty much assuming at that point. When he comes
around, how am I assuming if I'm open carrying? If I'm open carrying, and the guy made some statements, beforehand. Okay.
So what? Anybody can make statements.
The guy made the statements and he ran after him.
Yeah, he's making a good point there. Joseph Rosenbaum threatened to kill him early in the evening, according to Ryan Balch. Now, Ryan's going to take the stand and probably repeat that. That's going to pose a problem for the prosecution. They'll try to undermine his credibility by pointing out some things in his past, and that might work to a certain extent. But the trouble is that you have to convince all 12 jurors, and there's going to be some of them in the jury. They're going to say, yeah, I believe that. It sounds credible that Joseph Rosenbaum threatened to kill Kyle. And guess what? That's important because all that matters is, did Kyle have a reason to believe that he faced serious bodily injury if he didn't take action? Let's see here now. A man threatens to kill you earlier in the evening. You don't know if he is armed or not. He puts a shirt on to cover his face, and then he charges after you. You run. He continues to chase after you. He throws an object at you. You don't know what it is, but he throws something at you, and then he tries to take your gun from you. Yeah, that is a credible reason to think that you might face serious bodily injury unless you take action.
What you're not getting?
Well, he ran after him. It doesn't matter. He knew he was unarmed when he takes after him.
No, there's no way that Kyle knew that he was unarmed.
When you started running away from him. You can say as much as you want. Anything. You can do anything you want. If it was on his property, I'd say it's self-defense. But this is out in the public area where he knew the guy didn't have no weapons on him.
Did I say anything about it being self-defense? Did I say this was all self-defense? No. I said it's going to be a hard case for the prosecution.
It's not. It's open and cut. It's an open and shut case.
Oh, open and shut case? No, let me put it this way. I'll tell you the reason why it's not open and shut. Even if you were right, Let's suppose that in your wildest dreams that the evidence against Kyle is somewhat strong. It's not. I mean, the evidence points towards his innocence. Let's suppose that it points towards his guilt. You're talking about 12 jurors that you have to convince every single one of them. And who are these people? They're from Kenosha. Let's see here. The kid that's on trial was out there defending your town, trying to prevent people like Joseph Rosenbaum from burning it down. I'll be honest with you. If I'm a juror, if I'm sitting in the jury box, I'm thinking, wait, do I really want to convict this kid? I mean, that's a tough sell. You have to convince all 12. So the prosecution has a tough job in front of them to begin with. But then you also have video of Joseph Rosenbaum chasing Kyle. That's not good. If Kyle was chasing JoJo, your chances are decent. But it's the other way around, and that's a problem. I mean, if I'm a juror and I see the defendant running from the alleged victim, yeah, I'm just going to look at that and think, yeah, that's self-defense. Now, you can convince me it's not by bringing in a lot of evidence to show that Kyle acted unreasonably, but unfortunately that evidence is kind of scant here. The one person who has a good look at the thing, Richard McGinnis, his testimony seems to support Kyle. The other person that has a good take on things, and that's Ryan Balch, is claiming that Joseph Rosenbaum threatened to kill Kyle earlier in the evening. What does the prosecution have? I don't know. Maybe they'll dream something up. Maybe they have something that I don't know about. Quite possible. But what I have seen so far, the prosecution is in a deep hole. And in my opinion, the prosecution isn't going to try to win this thing on the evidence anyway. They're going to try to paint Kyle as a white supremacist. They're going to do everything they can to convince the jury that if they don't bring back a guilty verdict, that the town will burn, people will be mad, people will get shot. They're going to go after that argument. And Binger has already tried that with the whole white supremacist hand symbol thing. That's going to be their approach.
Period.
No case is ever open and shut.
It is.
No case.
This is open.
No case is always open and
I
shut.
feel like it's going to be a problem for the defense to
If you're stating cases are open and shut, John Gotti should have been in prison on the first fucking case by June.
We're not talking about
I'm using it as an example. I'm using it as an example.
I'll bring up another example, Zimmerman. Everybody said, well, Zimmerman is obviously a murderer. They've got that boy. Well, guess what? The evidence wasn't there. Zimmerman won. He was acquitted. And keep in mind, there is no video evidence of Zimmerman running away from Trayvon Martin. But here we have Kyle Rittenhouse running from Joseph Rosenbaum. So open and shut? No, not quite. And by the way, O.J. Simpson's case was open and shut as well. How did that work out?
So you're not taking examples. Yeah, but I just used an example. You know what an example is? That's what I just used. A fucking example. Okay? Because your statement was cases are closed and shut. No case is a closed, open, and shut case. No case is. Because the prosecution could fuck up a case, the defense team could beat a case, the defense could lose a case, the prosecution could win a case. There is no case that is an open, shut case. Unless you plead guilty to shit.
I got a question, right? So when you saw him on video running with the fire extinguisher, do you think at that moment you should have called the police?
Well, maybe. But what can the police do? Kyle knows fully well the police are not going to come. I mean, you saw fires being set all night. People were getting punched and assaulted. Where were the police? The police were on this barricade line. They're not going in. So I can just see it now. Kyle calling the police saying, there is a dumpster fire on Sheridan Avenue. You need to send a cop in. They're going to be going what? Oh, hell no. Hell no. If the police would have come for that, they would have been in there for everything else. They weren't. They weren't going in.
There's a lot of things that you could have done. You should have called 911.
Okay, exactly. So why you giving him self-defense? Why you giving him?
Did I say I gave him self-defense?
You pretty much said it.
That's never come out of my mouth.
It'll come out of my mouth. This is a case of self-defense. It's pretty clear. Joseph Rosenbaum ambushed Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle fled. Whatever provocation that took place before dissipates once Kyle flees the scene. Joseph chased after him. Joseph didn't have to chase after him. Joseph could have let him run. He didn't. He went after him. Kyle did the right thing by trying to flee the violence. Joseph pressed on, and then Joseph Rosenbaum tried to take Kyle's gun. At that point, Kyle can open fire. That is classic textbook self-defense. Now, maybe there is evidence out there, again, that might change my mind. And
why you defending the dude? You can say he's guilty just like I'm saying.
I'm not defending him. I'm breaking down how shit actually works in a fucking courtroom.
We're talking about if he had self-defense, right? I'm saying that he doesn't.
I didn't say he had self-defense.
Okay.
I didn't say he had self-defense.
Do you think he's guilty?
Guilty for being there with a misdemeanor on the original charge? Yes. The other charges, that's not wait for the prosecution. I'd have to wait for the prosecution to see how they're going to run the case.
Man. Oh, my God. Lord have mercy. Please take my brain cells in this phone call to case.
brain cells? You don't have any.
Dude, I'm asking a question. Is he guilty or not? Are you defending his action for killing two people or not?
I think it's perfectly appropriate to say I'm not sure because I don't have the full body of the evidence in front of me. However, I have enough evidence in front of me to be able to declare that I think that Kyle Rittenhouse is absolutely innocent of all charges. Now, again, I don't necessarily have all the evidence, and there's one bit of evidence out there that could change my mind, but I'm not going to tell you what it is.
On the first one, yes, I defend the action.
Okay, that means the second one is going to be the same. He's guilty on that too. Because what they're going to go off of is the first killing.
Well, they're going to go off the first killing of what they want.
That first killing, an initial 911 call that was made about an active shooter.
Okay.
So if they convict him on the first killing, man, you can kiss him goodbye because that second killing is going to be totally unjustified.
Well, there's a yes or no to that. There's a yes or no to that.
No, it's not. He's an active shooter.
Well, he wasn't an active shooter. I have another video on that one. People don't know what an active shooter is. Now, if he is guilty on the first count, the shooting of Joseph Rosenbaum, then yeah, that makes it really tough on him for the other shootings. However, he's not. And if he's found innocent in the shooting of Joseph Rosenbaum, it's going to be really hard to convict him on the second shooting and the third shooting because he is an innocent person trying to make it to the police to explain what happened, and a mob who didn't even see what happened tried to kill him. And yeah, I mean, that's going to be a very tough sell. Ultimately, everything falls on the Joseph Rosenbaum shooting.
He's an active shooter.
He's an active shooter with one person when he's running away and one person tries to hit him with a fucking skateboard, which is considered a deadly weapon under the court's law, under the court's eyes. The second guy pulls a freaking Glock on him, he shoots that guy in the fucking arm. Okay?
It doesn't matter. The first killing matters.
The first killing still doesn't constitute the second.
Is what matters.
It doesn't constitute the second, though. It still doesn't constitute the second because the state has to prove the second. The state has to prove the second.
They don't have to.
Each one has to be proved. Each one has to be proved. And this is why I just said, and I said earlier, it's a 50-50 because the courts could go both ways.
It's not a 50-50. If you agree that he should be there, then why he self-insert himself in that situation?
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end it now. I can't handle this anymore. Just as a final comment, the whole idea that he can't claim self-defense because he didn't belong there has no basis in Wisconsin law, It doesn't have any basis in any state. I defy anybody to find a state that says you can't claim self-defense if you don't belong there. Like my video, subscribe to my channel. I'll put a link to this one there if you want to listen to the whole thing, but I just can't stand anymore.